is a beautiful heaven. Always I hope that we shine like the star and be forever floating above. I know a falling star can't fall forever, but let's never stop falling in love. No, let's never stop falling in
Aloha and welcome to the Gaia Sophia Dreaming Show. Your host, Michael Duchesne. Aloha and welcome. And much thanks. Mahalo. Well, very grateful. Let me just say that. And what are we looking at here? 4 a.m. in the Hawaii Dreamtime. The wind is blowing. I might have to switch locations if it's a little too windy and it's sounding. So I think with that. Hello, Janet, if you're there. So, let's see, where do we want to go with this today?
Mike.
Hey, aloha, Janet.
Yeah, that was just beautiful. I saw Venus and I was just really feeling that music this morning at like 4. Oh, so much unconditional love. I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the feeling when you kind of tune in, you dance with nature, look at the stars, look at the planets, in this pure way, beyond, let's call it any thought forms, any, in a way, prior associations or beliefs with, oh, this is what this is, like putting a label on it, Janet, and just tuning into the unconditional love, the love that we all are sharing with another, because that's what we have to share. That's the energy.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just pure, eh? It's just like, there's no strings. No strings attached there.
No.
And I think we confuse love because so many times there are strings attached. And it's not really love that we're protecting or trying to save with all these strings attached to it. It's generally fear, pretty much. A fear, again, surrounding truth, a fear surrounding love that in a way reminds you to project outside yourself to seek this instead of, you're being it. It's like be in love. And when you're being
totally.
And in that, excuse me, and in that, we'll call it saying, in those words, when we listen to it now, it's like be in love. It's just like, it's almost, what is it? It's showing me a clearer picture. It's showing me like there's a swimming pool or a pool or a field, and it's all love. And you go and you be in it. You know, like if you're in the water, you're in the water.
Yeah,
and
it's empowering. Yeah.
And so usually when we don't consider we're in the air right now, right, walking around. But if we were standing in water, we would say we're in water. But generally we don't say, we're standing in air. Even though if you want to kind of get technical here, we are. And this is kind of what I'm getting at about it as in love. It's everywhere. It's not like it's there, here, and over there. It permeates all. And like this, Well, yeah, be in love. Just be, right where you are. You're always in this field. And when we tend to talk with another and we say, oh, isn't it so nice to be in love? There's a part of that sentence that's stopped. Because generally, when we say that, there's an implied with somebody.
Right.
Being in love with who? Oh, isn't it so nice you being in love with? So again, it's already associating it outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
And, well, it's just beautiful. I mean, I feel the let's call it the neutral state, and where I could feel the polarity in these words before when I used them, at least for myself. I don't feel them. I'm not feeling that. I feel the neutral. I don't feel that polarizing context confusing me. I see it and I'm like, wow, how nice. So when before I might, oh, well, how do I want to get this right in my mind, and how do I want to say this? And generally there was this little voice, because I wasn't really listening to it, so it was only little.
Yeah, that's good. It gets smaller.
That this little voice used to go to me, Mike, it's the intent. It's the intent. I don't even think it'd call me my name, you know what I mean? Or
Right.
this name. This
Right.
reference point. It was just like, it's your intent. It's your intent. I'm like, thanks. You know my intent. No one's confusing my intent. Don't mess with my intent. And there's the paranoia. You know, you're thinking somebody's messing with your intent. Well, as soon as you start to put some words and try to express it again, well, they can get, you tune into the distortion, and yeah, it's going to get messed up. But in that pure intent, that just feeling, that knowing that this is it. It's this. And I don't have to put words to it sometimes, because that description didn't do its service. But we were trying to, but we got to put words to it. No, actually, some things you do not. If I'm speaking to another, it might assist putting some words to it to express my intent, and that's what's coming clearer. Those words are coming clearer and totally matching our intent that we have in our hearts. Where before we had this intent in our heart, and then we were like, well, why didn't it happen? Well, because we tuned into the fear and, well, negated that intent in a way from the heart, from actuality, and we pressed pause on it in a way and played the fear button and went, oh, it's just all confused and this love thing. And I'm like, you're not in the love thing right now. You tune back into the fear aspect. And so we see this in our words, like, oh, it's so nice to be in love with somebody always. That was the thinking. We just, when we peeled back the layers and looked at it, we realized, yeah, again, we were expressing not being in love with ourselves, not being in love with all. It was only being in love with this one person, and generally only certain aspects of them that I really do love, or her I really do love. Because that other side of her, that dark side that she keeps, I don't love that part. No.
Yeah, I hear you.
So, again, we're separating out the wholeness right there. And when we do that, we're generally not remembering actually what love is. We're going by a misconceived definition, and I'm really pleased that it's coming clear like this. This isn't, oh, look at Mike being so intelligent. No, not in the least. And this is, in a better tense, me tuning in and listening to this message that's been shared with me for ever, that it's like owning the truth. It's just like I don't own what I just said in terms of this is Mike's opinion and only Mike's opinion, and if you try and have this opinion, you gotta, well, it's mine first. You know, this ego that tends to get in the way and, you know, just delays our own game in a way, our own self-realization. And, well, what we're sharing is it's getting clearer where we don't play that game anymore. And, wow, that's just, I'm so happy because so many times where you would, well, you make certain moves and like making a recipe in the kitchen, you put these ingredients in, this ingredients in, you're supposed to get a certain thing out. And many times we would do that in the old paradigm and wonder why sometimes it would work and sometimes it wouldn't. It'd be like, I knew it worked before. And now you're doing it and it's not working. She's like, what rules did they change again this time? And it wasn't they. Well, what rules were changed again this time? And in that changing, well, you're part of that. So don't give up your ownership of, you know, your actions, your self. And so what else has come along in the last so-called few years is things have been moving fast. The old foundations were crumbling. So when we had some beautiful new imaginations and we tried to put them into reality, build them, the old foundation wasn't there again. So we had nothing really to build it in. The new foundation hadn't arrived yet. And where it would normally build no longer is functional. And so many plans and ideas would just, again, fall to the wayside or just stop in their tracks and leave us pondering, what the fuck this time? And in many times it wasn't necessarily you did something wrong. It's just we've come along so far that we're not building in the old paradigm anymore. And when I recognized that, I was very grateful again. I don't want to build in the old paradigm. I don't want to. My base does not exist there. So again, if I was trying to build something and kept on persisting, and then as it sunk into the mud or the sand or whatever was going to, you know, and assisted crumbling would have been happening, and I would have then kept trying to patch it, fix it, what's wrong, la la la. Well, quite earnestly, what's not wrong, but what the situation is that, well, that ground is now quicksand, and move your dreams to the the true foundation, the true base of the planet, the organic, natural reality, which now we are building in once again. We are connecting to once again. And generally these do not involve structures that are huge, especially ones that go up 2, 3, 4 or more stories. It's just so unnatural in the way of things to be, well, even if there's a floor above you, well, if there wasn't a floor above you, then you can imagine a building with no floors, but you still had these levels, and you'd have people standing on top of people, standing on top of people, shitting on top of people, actually, from the floor above, if you can imagine. And then stop that imagination, and then just remember people on top of people. And if you saw that, you'd be like, you're not acrobats. What are you doing? Quit standing on top of each other. And that's just the nature of the old paradigm. Because in the natural world, I don't even want to call it necessarily new paradigm, it's the one that was always here. Nature ain't new. She's new in the way that any K-N-E-W. We know her intimately. We knew her before and played the forgetting game of, who are you? I thought I knew you. No, you do. Tune into your heart, and you'll remember this. So, how do I know this person? Whether it's the planet or somebody you just met. And it's just, did I meet them earlier in my existence in a so-called past life or last week? And it's like, well, you met them in your heart one time. Well, more than one time, because it's beyond time. So again, we don't have this separation of, well, let's just say existence. This division doesn't exist again. And inside that, of course, we know all. All is self. Yeah, but what's their name? Their name? Well, it would be, if we have to then go on that level, it's beyond a name. And it's a knowing. And inside that, it's like, well, if you can think of a child and a parent, and then you'd be like, well, what's your mom and dad's name? And, well, mom and dad, or ma and dad, or papa, or what are we referring to them? And many times we're watching this way, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a dad now, and I'm like, I got the dad name now, and I'm like, what the? Again, I've had quite a few names that people have referred to me, called me through the years. But what I'm getting at, it was always, for me, something beyond that. Well, when I could remember clearer, it was beyond that. And so what I'm getting at is, we have this intimate connection when we know each other that transcends the limiting functions of a name or a personality that we tended to associate with before. And when we tune into the wholeness of each other, it really goes beyond those, what's your name, where do you work, what's your religion. Wow, those are so down the line if we have not dropped those what did you play with before, maybe will be the question about what was that thing you were, kicking around the yard. And I find that beautiful, once again, that we're moving to that. And it's beautiful to in some ways, have something nice to refer to another. But many times it's that intent, again. It's that being in the heart and connecting with each other and that way. And it's just so natural. It's just so harmonious because we're always quite naturally in that space, in this feeling. And wow, I'm happy. I'm happy to see this, and instead of generally what's projected on the control boxes in the living rooms, turning them to a different state where instead of beings interacting with each other, they are entranced in the control system. And it's as simple as how I like to share it is with, let's say you were trying to eat healthier, and instead of like saying just stopping everything you're doing, the idea is just eat more live food. And which means is you have salads, you have fresh vegetables and fruit and sprouts, and you don't cook them. They're raw, but they're live. So instead of having a plate of 90% dead stuff and 10% live stuff, you balance it out, 50% live stuff, 50% dead stuff. And you will see the change. And you'll be like, wow, there's a change here. Yeah. Shift the balance. you didn't have to go 100% the whole other way, man. Take baby steps. Come along the way, because generally when you do it the other way, you're going to swing from polarities, and you're not going to come to this neutral state as soon as you'd like, as soon as you would feel. So remember to do this. You guys are ping-ponging between polarities. And so when we just come back to let's just do baby steps here, and all of a sudden, instead of having more dead on your plate, you have more live stuff on your plate, and your balances shift. And this is it with information we take in. It's just like watch a little comedy instead of the news. Watch the balance shift. And then the more we do this, wow, I'm watching this in myself, that I don't tune in, even since I haven't been tuning on the control box so much, that television, and I've watched where maybe before I would spiral kind of down into some distortion or disharmonious vibrations, and where now those are just now reminders to me in a way, hey, because I don't go down into them, I recognize them and I shift. I move to, I don't entertain them. I don't play with them. I spy. I connect back to self, and I remember onwards, inwards, onwards, and upwards. I don't tune into the fear. I don't tune into that limiting thoughts as much anymore. Where before, if you listen to more of the control box, you will tune into those limiting thoughts, even when you're not listening to the TV, even when you're not watching the TV, in your daily living. In this space, since you've kind of fueled yourself with more positive information, instead of tuning into negative reaction response, you're gonna be able to remain neutral in that situation, see the polarities, and move and act in balance. And wow, it's really like Mother Nature's put the training wheels on. Well, she kind of did that to us for us when we were really young. And now, when we do, some of these things for ourselves, we are, in a way, putting our training wheels on. We're instead of having them way wide out, basically all the way out to the ends of polarity, right brain, left brain, divine feminine, divine masculine, and divine is going to be neutral here. That these training wheels, so to say, start getting smaller and smaller and smaller, so you're no longer oscillating from extremes of polarity. It's getting closer to the neutral state where you're oscillating in this beautiful balance between, with your wholeness. Because we're no longer separating the physical from the spiritual, the third dimension from the fourth dimension from the fifth dimension. We're recognizing our interconnectedness, our wholeness in all, where it's not another place you go to. These densities, if you want to use that word, are right here in the same space contained inside of you. And they're not different places you go to, here it is, I'm in the third dimension, and over there's the fourth. There are spaces that resonate at that level, but what we're coming clearer into is inside ourselves, where there's no boundary. There's no borders. There's no separation between the ego and self, the mind and self. They're all in line. They're in tune with each other, singing the song of the heart. And with that, you hear the truth resonating beautifully. This is our natural right, and this is what we are tuning into. Just love it.
I can see you're thinking, baby, I've been thinking too, about the way we used to be and how to start anew. Maybe I'm a hopeless dreamer, maybe I've got it wrong, but I'm going where the grass is green if you'd like to come along. Back when I was starting out, I always wanted more. But every time I got it, I still felt just like before. Fortune is a fickle friend, I'm tired of chasing fame. And when I look into your eyes, I know you feel the same. Large are starting to do us in. I won't say it wasn't fun, but now it has to end. Life is moving oh so fast, I think we should take it slow. Rest our heads upon the grass and listen to it grow. Green and the cars are few and far. Days are full of splendor, and at night you can see the stars. Life's been moving oh so fast, I think we should take it slow. Rest our heads upon the grass and listen to it grow.
Beautiful. Thank you. With that, a big shout out to Critical Mass Radio, Paul Giovanni, Ninja Bambi, and the crew, Kate of Gaia and the Emerald Table. Thank you so much. If you want to tune in, Blog Talk Radio, criticalmassradio.co.uk. It's the Gaia Sophia Dreaming Show. And yeah, we get into this, I'll call it a feeling. It's probably a clearer word, but this feeling of just, wow. Janet, would you describe it as a kind of grace? This.
Oh, it's a journey of, yeah. I would call it, it's so light.
It's hard
really
to.
weightless. I don't know, really weightless and
Yeah, this feeling. It's just like hard.
expanding and expanding and
Hmm.
such a journey. Always being in love. That's the feeling.
Yeah, it feels so just in a way warm inside.
Mm-hmm.
We have these words that have passed down through the ages that shine some light on this really this feeling you can get where there's no stress. You feel this love, and it's very well. It's going to be personal. It's going to be for you, but I'm coming up when I share it with others, and we can kind of check notes. We realize that it's not this different force of nature. It's this one force of nature, and when you tune into your heart and you feel this, it's just so interwhelming. It's just this level of, it's not even a level, it's kind of this all-encompassing. It's like whatever was going on in the mind or the ego that might have been out of balance, it just sinks right in. It's just like, this love that we keep trying to describe and been trying to share through the ages, us as the Anthropos dreaming with Gaia Sophia. And there's a reason it still weaves through our fabrics of our lives, and we are reminded to say to one another, I love you, we love we, and because it's just like that. No, there's a real important reason why we've been doing this and expressing this, and why it comes to our consciousness. And I'm just happy that I'm recognizing the reminders, because sometimes I don't myself, and it wasn't because it wasn't there. And that's another thing. Many times we think, "Oh, why has thou forsaken me?" And generally, when we talk about God or nature, the supreme source, it's not like that. It doesn't operate in those. Doesn't operate in those dynamics, and it doesn't have this confusion. And well, yeah, we're moving back to a being in love where this state of confusion doesn't surround it anymore. This state of fear doesn't surround it. Because many times we're trying to make sense out of love when actually there's nothing to make sense out of there. It is. What we were tending to try to make sense out of was the confusion and the fear, masquerading as love. And, well, I realized this quite a while ago, and I share it. You don't make sense out of confusion. It's confusion for a reason. And when you try to make sense out of it, you will get confused. But your ego or your mind is like, I got to figure this out. It can't be confusing. There must be a solution or an answer. And I'm like, yes, there is. The answer is you drop it. You don't try to figure it out. You let it be. Let the confusion be. You let it be. You're no longer entertaining it. And you recognize it isn't yours, and it wasn't something to be fixed. It was something to let it be. Drop it. That ball rolled in the doo-doo. Don't play with it. Can we wash it off? No, that one had a absorbable skin where it got right in it. That ball's no longer, don't play with it. We got plenty of others that are pure and that is not confused. And so, trying to make sense out of confusion. Wow, I'm so glad that when the times I've done this, and it's just like you get this tap on the shoulder. And it's just like, what are you doing? Well, this thing don't make sense. And what are you doing? Well, I'm trying to make sense out of it. What is it? It's confusing. Oh, yeah, that's what you're reminding me of. And like that, it saved me so many headaches. So many. With my Gemini mind aspect, turning around, looking at all the perspectives, and then finally realizing, no. That is just so humorous to me. Because I recognized it is me, playing that game on myself. It wasn't like I came to the point where, you stopped doing that to me. It was like, no, I recognized I was doing it to myself. And was like, yeah, I prefer a better joke. So let's do that.
Yeah, the quest is to know, huh? So easy.
Yeah, so that's that. Yeah, it's just beautiful in terms of it's like, how come no one sometimes gets my joke? And ultimately is only you needed to get this joke. And the punchline, in many ways, only you can get. Because you wrote the joke for you. There's like a little, inside, let's call it the cosmic joke, there's a small version of your own particular flavor that you know, and you're going to hear this laughter, and you probably already have, we all have. It's going to be such a reminder. It's just like, oh, and then you realize you're laughing with yourself. Because you were in the joke all along. Because it's one you played on yourself. So it wasn't a hurtful one. It wasn't anything that was causing you harm or really to bring fear into your life. It was really just dispel all of those things. And when all of a sudden you realize you're laughing with yourself. It's that division that you believed you now realize no longer exists, and that's why you're laughing with yourself, because that artificial barrier is dissolved, and there's no more separation within, misperceived separation, and of course you're laughing with yourself. And then you're laughing doubly, in a way, because, well, that's part of the joke too, that you forgot that part. It's hilarious. And at least for me, in my aspect, and I'm pretty sure everyone's done that for themselves. It's really well, my eyes are smiling, not just my face. My eyes are smiling with this remembrance. It's so lovely. So, did I just play the Critical Mass short jingle, Janet? Because let me just do that real quick again.
You're listening to Critical Mass Radio. Now, it's our turn.
All right. And it is our turn, guys. It's our turn to once again use our imagination. This is our power. To use our imagination to dream the world we want. To dream the world we want to live in. It's actually here for us. And the more we start dreaming in it, the more it starts coming into the actualization of us experiencing it. And that is reality. And this is what's here for us. And when we use our imagination not to think of, well, what? How are they going to do that? Or what are they doing? And they're talking about this. And not once did you share what is it you would really like to see in your world. And not framed in terms of, well, it can help you in the beginning. Well, I don't want to see that and not that. Well, that's a start. And when you cultivate that discernment, then you can move into, well, where you start imagining, well, in my world, those things don't even exist in terms of belief in authority, government, money. These things don't even exist in my imagination. So when I'm dreaming in my, let's say, world, when I'm remembering this, they don't even come into the picture. So this is the imagining we knew. And part of why it doesn't is because I've quite thankfully, I've tuned into the Emerald Table. I've listened to some very beautiful beings who are sharing their heart and some heart and truth and wisdom, and helped me resonate more with this, and to be able to recognize and to tune into more of this. So when I do start dreaming and start using this imagination again, that what's coming into it and being projected out is a world of beauty and love, and how we all harmoniously interact and laugh and truly be of service to self and one another. And there's none of the old paradigms running through this program, this imagination. And this is what we are doing more and more of. This is what we are remembering and waking up to the fact that this is one of our roles in the play. One of our roles in playing is to remember to dream the best possible dream for yourself and all humanity. And many times and not just humanity, for all sentient life forms, living beings. And with that, I used to be a little confused and go, how do I do that? Well, generally when you're talking about, building in the old paradigm, it's really hard to do that. Nigh impossible. Because built into that synthetic program was always, an imbalance, where you couldn't think of all because you're coming from a limiting, fearful, competitive belief system. That's what we were trying to build in. And now that that's finished, it's basically not in our toolbox anymore. It's not in our being to build with those things anymore. We're building with the true imagination, with the true power source, which is love, the true resonance factor, which is truth. And we see when we share this vision for all and self, what we're in a sense remembering that is for the greater good. And I know some people share this word, and I've always kind of haven't got this little ditty down. Is but that it's not all about self. It is all is self, and self is all. So in this, we are remembering in this shared dream how it's for all, man. It's not like I want love for just me. I want abundance for just me. It's I want abundance for me because I want to also share this. I mean, me sitting on a pile of whatever is pretty much worthless unless I'm giving it away. I'm not giving it away, I'm giving it. Like giving it away is almost like, oh, I'm just giving it away. And it's right there in almost that tense, it's almost worthless. It's no, we're giving from the heart, and it's just so beautiful. And that's what abundance is. That's why we have abundance, is to share it. And, just so lovely. And with that, aloha, Barbara. Thanks for
Hi,
coming.
Mike.
Yeah.
You know, you give away so much to the point you've gotten to the point in life where you personally are not in need of anything since you know who you are, being God. Anything that you want, you can ask for. Just deny. And so now that anything that you accumulate, you want to give away because you have no value to you. The smile or the reception that others give you for receiving from you is what's the reward that satisfies us now. I was thinking about that the other day, Mike. I said, now what do I want? And then I started thinking, personally, for my own personal self, I'm on full. But I do want to see my loved ones and friends and younger people also get to the point where they can one day say, I'm on full too. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I want more abundance to share for others to be able to rise to bliss. Because it does exist.
Yes. Yes, yes. Wow. Yeah. I want to play a little tune. It's by Tevaka. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this group. It's from the South Pacific, and they just got some beautiful music, and let's hear one. back to the Gaia Sophia Dream Show. And got another. Hey, Guru, fuck you.
Mark, that was mushroom music there. Del Leary would be very proud of you for pulling that one up. Thanks for the memories. That was flower child material, you know, running through the metals of flowers. Yeah, that was enjoyable.
Barbara. I was like a giant violet butterfly flying all around. You're right.
This is a group that's really helped me tune in, Tevaka. And again, I could do a little research. Most of their music is not in English. It's in the language from the island they're from. And we're experts in a moment. But I hear these, and this is so, I hear these words. I hear these sounds. And inside of me, I listen to many times music from all over the world, and it's not English, so I don't know the words per se, but it's just sound, and it's just this feeling that I'm like, it transcends the words. It's not in one level, not necessary, because I've recognized through music that these just beautiful voices singing beautiful melodies is.
That's all. Just beauty. That's it.
There you go.
You don't have to know what they say. That's beauty. You don't have to know what they say. You know that's that lesson that Kate teaches us. To see with our ears. And that's what we be doing when we listen to things that we don't understand. We still enjoy it.
Yeah, indeed, and it's helped me tremendously. Because my mind shut down trying to figure out what the words were and just went with that beauty, as you say, Barbara, and just, wow. Lovely.
I have that problem with a lot of American singers who sing. I don't know a lot of lyrics, but the melody and the music is so dynamic that whatever they're saying got to be all right because the music is just so good. The rhythm is just so good. The sound is just so good.
Yes, that's it. Thank you for clarifying that. That's just the way it is. And we feel that. And this is when you feel someone's intent. And many times we'll get mixed up on their words, people trying to express themselves, but we catch their intent. We know their intent. We know they're coming from love. And in other words, we catch their intent, and we're like, we know they're not coming from that state, and we're like, hey, okay, we get a little bit like, okay, what's going on here? What now it's rising more and more into the moment is we're not going into those reaction states. We're more in that neutral, we're more in that balance where we can, not be pushed and pulled as we once were. And
growing, still growing.
You're growing.
Growing. Mm-hmm. Not grown. That's the first thing a child always say, well, I'm grown. Well, then it's all over for you, buddy. Because when you put that "in" on the end of that word, then the case closed. There's no more for you to do. So you need to realize you're not grown, but you're growing. Once, according to the way that we talk about that word grow, you go for grow. Things are, whatever you're doing, that ending will determine how we understand what you're doing. So when you say you're grown, then we know there's no turning back for you because you made your mind or whatever's on your mind. That may be the last line for you because you declared yourself as grown. But when you declare yourself as growing, you leave your doors open to receive more and more.
Well, that's really, truly insightful, Barbara. I don't remember us breaking down this word, but I used it yesterday when when some of the guys at the table were having a nice back and forth, and Mark was like, Mike, do you want to do something here? And I said, they're grown men. They can handle themselves. And I use that word, grown. But as Barbara's reminding us in that moment, if we just recognize that, oh yeah, I'm grown up already, we're not continuing. We're forgetting that we have more to remember and learn and love.
Becoming, yeah.
Becoming. And this is with, again, the show is called Gaia Sophia, Dreaming. It's not like it stopped. And thanks for the reminder, Barbara. We keep growing.
Always. I mean, you young people are on the road. You go on the road. I feel very confident in living to be 1,000 if possible, because I see when you hear people say, I got your back. Well, this is a generation of young people who we can truly say that they got our backs, because for a long time, elderly people were afraid of the youth, and so that put a separation there. You know, like you would see youth walking down the street, and you start looking at them differently because of the way that we felt, and so they don't carry themselves the way that we carry ourselves. Judgmental, which is a thing that I never practiced because of the teacher Jesus always taught us not to judge ye not, so you won't be judged. So if you don't make a judgment on somebody else, you don't have to worry. So I never really thought of, however a person is, it was. I just didn't know. I was raised, I know now, in a conservative environment. I remember, but the word politics was not a word that women we just didn't have. Our men handled all that. All we had to do was fucking fry fish. If we could do those two things, we had the game and gone. Men handled everything else during my growing up stage. And so those were the things that was mandatory. Not just though, that's just a simple way of saying that we women, our lives was really joyful. As a child in the 50s, joyful. I was raised in the state of Missouri, and which I now know is a Republican state. So when I came down south, I was in for an enlightenment. That's just like coming to a new world, a brand new world. The vocabulary was different. I had never words such as compete. You got to compete. Well, I don't remember hearing our elders use that word up north. They always told us to do the best you can. But they never said you got to compete. I'm sure the coaches was probably using that term, on the sports arena. But in everyday classroom life, that was nothing that was promoted, to compete. Just do the best you can. And that's what we tried to do. We had amusement parks. St. Louis was where the fair. And I think in I think that fair was somewhere like in 1904, somewhere around there, the World's Fair. Well, I think a lot of the merchants that came from around the world just stayed in St. Louis because they opened up many headquarters. Anheuser-Busch headquarters, Monsanto, Peabody Coal, Procter & Gamble, Bristol, all these people. So I'm thinking that the merchants from all around the world who came to the World Fair just decided, to stay. And they had that beautiful Forest Park out there, a lovely place. And children are amusement. Oh, they love children. Those people of the 50s, they love children. But now that I'm grown, I look back and say, look, like I tell you about all these headquarters, we also had all the breweries there. Anheuser-Busch, Falstaff, or we had Miller Lite. We had all types of, all the citizens was big drunks. I say all the time, I was raised by highly spirited people, which were drunks, because that was one of the fringe benefits and working at a brewery. You also got an opportunity to drink the product that you made for years. And that didn't stop until like 1974. But you know how long those people had been working and drinking, had those beautiful horses, those Clydesdales. Life was just pleasant for the people in the Missouri area, and they did share with their children. The children, I'm telling you, when I was in San Francisco in the 70s, our young girl, she literally cried because she said she wished she could raise her children. in St. Louis, in the Missouri. St. Louis, she said St. Louis particularly. She didn't just say Missouri. She said because she had heard so many fabulous things about people living in the Midwest in that St. Louis area. And then I see it called John Goodman's attention after he left Rosanna's show. They tell me he settled there in the St. Louis area. And then there's a sportscaster, Bob somebody. I never really liked him too much, so I didn't think of his name. Oh, I know him. Yeah, he settled there too. So life was just different. I'm like in Paradise Island. I hear people saying now, well, maybe I do want some conservative type of lifestyle. Now, I just realized what that was. I never knew what those words meant because I just wasn't in that political world.
So I think you hit it right on the head. And it was the difference between competing and cooperation, where you just described where there was this cooperation, there was this sharing, which was so natural. And it wasn't until later on that you this kind of this competition was well, in a way enforced on us to compete, where before there was a natural sense of community. There was a natural sense of cooperation, because there wasn't this competition. You weren't in competition with your neighbors. You weren't keeping up with the Joneses, so to say. And so in that way, there wasn't no competition, I'm better than you. There wasn't no competition where, oh, you're going to get the money before me. I got to do something so I can get it. So there wasn't this mentality, what you're describing, of I'm better than you, or we got to always compete. And I don't mean compete in terms of we can have a friendly race. We can have friendly competition. But the competing that I'm talking about was against each other to show who was better than the other, to show who now will advance more than the next. This was the unnature of what Barbara was basically saying when she moved. She went into that kind of world, that mentality where that was the norm, and became the norm for most. This competition where people compete and they think it's fun. It's a limiting fun if there is any, and tending to, some of that fun is to laugh at the other team or laugh at the other side because they didn't win. And this is just sad. It's kind of a mental sickness where before we cooperated, even when we competed, you weren't laughing at the lose. There was no loser. There maybe been a winner, but there was no loser. And you cheered everyone equally, so it didn't matter, oh, you only cheered the winner. Whoever did whatever, it didn't matter. There was no finish line. So we were all cooperating. So there was the laughter. The laughter is true laughter's in there. Because you're not, again, you're laughing with somebody, not at
it's a game, yeah.
And I recognize this in just the general way we move about and interact with humans. It becomes either a competition or a cooperation. And competing is of the ego. It's of a fear. And I don't mean natural sporting competitions where, once again, it depends on what it's for. Is it to go, you see some athletes and they're very humble. They're not out to hurt another or be better than another. They're out to be the best they can be. And when they win, it's not at the expense of another. That's competition. Competition's at the expense of another. Cooperation, it's with the joy of another. And this is living. This is living. Where we do everything we did before. We can do everything we did before if we so choose. And we can do it with love in our hearts and joy in the air. There's no reason to cause harm to another being. And when we are in the competitive mindset, that's basically the modus operandi. And you might think, but I'm not touching them. In a mental construct, it can harm another. It actually harms self, because you are separating yourself from another in terms of competition, where I'm better than you. Not I ran a race better than you right then, or I just did this better than you just now. It goes into the I'm better than you. I'm a better person than you. Not that you can do this better than me, and that's fine, man. Many people can do so many things better than me. Man, don't put a knife in my hand. Anything sharp, don't put in my hands. I need adult supervision. It doesn't even have to be adult supervision. It can be kid supervision, a kid who knows what they're doing. Oh, and I've had that. Please, watch me. I've done that here. And just the other day, I was reminded of it and cut myself with the machete. And it has written right on it, zombie slasher. And yeah, I cut myself. And right when I did it, one friend chimed in, "Be careful." And I still can't remember if he said it before or after, but it was right in the moment. And I was just like, my arm was already moving or whatever, or it already had done it. And I was just like, Mike, all you had to do is take a breath, and you would remember you have a sharp object in your hand, and you would have asked somebody, and they would have said what you didn't catch quick enough, which is, hey, be careful. Watch what you're doing. Because this is just something for me that I've recognized over my... So when I started to share the friends, they looked at my hand, and it wasn't a big cut at all. It just basically skinned my hand, but, right there, it's close. There isn't like there's a big layer there. They laughed. They chuckled when they saw my hand and asked me, what did you do? And I said, I had a... They didn't have to even think twice. They knew I cut myself. They're like, Mike, you're not supposed to use sharp objects. So in that way,
I had a Sagittarius friend who do that, laugh at people when they hurt themselves. A Sagittarius, that used to crack her up. You done cut yourself. That was so funny.
And I was sharing last time that this is so good that you said it. That when I see someone hurt themselves, I get fearful instead of laughing, because I'm for some reason, I don't know, maybe because I'm not too empathetic, but I have this empathy that makes it very almost tangible, where I feel it, and so I tune into that fear, and instead of, I realize I don't want to react in that space if someone hurts themselves or I hurt myself. I want to come from more of the love and the laughter. And say, hey, it's okay, it's all right. Let's look what we did here. What did we? What can we do differently now? Are you all right?
Oh, that's why she did that. She used to always, at tragic situations, laughter would definitely come out of her. Because you get a flat tire on the highway, smoke come out to exhaust pipe, laughter. Ooh, she'd be almost on her knees. And I'd be panicking. Oh, we got to crash. Oh, we can't go any further. That don't praise her at all. Sagittarius. Jupiter run people. Hey, that stuff just tickles them.
That is so huge right there. Thank you. I want to look at this more, maybe later at the Emerald Table or right now at the Emerald Table. Come back to it, because it's now like 2 times in a row come up to me, and Barbara, I haven't quite had the aha moment. I'm like, here it is. We've laid it out. And who is this being, Barbara, you're sharing with? That used to...
The Sagittarius, who whenever she saw a tragedy, like you cut your finger and the fat part of your fingers was showing, That just tickled her. Ooh, girl, you done fucked up. You done fucked your finger. Look what you did to your finger.
So like this, what we're seeing is the balance here. Instead of moving in fear or just laughing at the person, she's laughing to realize, hey, we might get a little upset when someone laughs in a situation like this. What's he laughing? I hurt myself. But what's at the basis of that laughter I'm feeling, Barbara, was love. You're all right. It's okay.
That's so true. That is so true.
Yeah.
Even if we were on the highway and the car got us back, she would do the same thing, laughing, but she'll be out too, getting out of the car, going to the trunk, getting the jack, still talking shit, but still getting ready to repair the flat.
Yeah.
That makes it go by good. Yeah, it's very funny.
These are the what comes to me in my, I'll call it simple everyday living, where in a way fine-tuning my balance. And these are the remembrances that come to me that in my life that really, wow. I've said really and wow a bunch today. Maybe I'm a little tired. It's this clarity that keeps coming. I bring up these things that in my life, and I share them with my friends, with the beings that I'm coming in tune with again. And I share these things that have been kind of, like I said, this has been most of my life. This has been a kind of quandary. And now I'm bringing these up that people would usually go, these are just Mike's inanities. And I bring them up, and I'm like, this is, something, a little shining light on that I share with others. And what I get shared back is, it's so huge for me, and I'm grateful. I'm like, wow, that was bigger than I thought in terms of how it affects me or how it affected me. Because quite simply I moved from acting in fear to being in love, acting from love. And that is on a simple, like I said, people hurt themselves. And we got to remember to act from love instead of acting from fear. Because we tend to react from fear when we hurt ourselves or when someone else hurts themselves. And this, we want to talk about how can human beings change the world. Well, let's just, on this one right here, this is, again, how we are shifting our operating system from a fear state to a love. I don't even want to call it state. From a fear state to a love being. And it changes your world. And I truly feel it changes the whole world. And because it's just not your operating system you're affecting. When we're reminded of these things, that when we can laugh at or with a situation instead of reacting with fear. Because we would tend to say, well, you can laugh at a situation and laugh it off where you just block it out. And I don't mean like that. I mean you laugh and, as Barbara shared, got out and fixed a flat tire. It wasn't like didn't do anything about it, laughed at it, and actually moved into the action stage. This is wisdom. This is true wisdom. And, wow, thank you, because now in these situations, if they arise in my life, and we instead of reacting and we act from love, we stop that merry-go-round where we continue hurting ourselves or others. That ends. That's what I see. And wow, yes. Aloha, Cade.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, I figured I'd jump in a little bit with you guys and just see how it's going, as always. Interesting stuff going on. I don't know if anybody's been paying attention, but we had, Jason mentioned that 8.2 quake in Chile last night. There was another interesting little post here I thought you guys might be interested in. Just showing the effects that we create. That, you see, these are the causal things that we do, and I just love to let people. Yeah, here we go. See what's going on in their causal realms. We were talking, last night before, and the night before about changing one's stars instead of being at effect to them, being cause over them. And isn't it interesting that Oka posted this on Facebook today? Right on cue, sperm enters egg. Possible new nova flares up in Cygnus. A new star, a possible nova, has been discovered in Cygnus, the Swan, the summer's signature constellation. The transient object was discovered on 31st of March by the prolific Japanese nova discovering, must be a observatory or whatever. So there you go. Neat, eh?
Wow. Oh.
Kate, yeah, this is totally in resonance. If anyone knows about this Swan constellation, there's a few guys. If you go to Peter Tongue, and I mean Tongue, I don't know if any of you guys have ever listened to Peter Tongue. Wonderful. Up there in BC. About a year ago, he had two guys come on back-to-back weeks, and I'm not even sure they were aware of each other's research. And it was all about this constellation, the Swan, and about how this, and they brought it right to the spiritual, okay? It wasn't just some astrology thing here. They brought it right into the spiritual, how it's in our lives, how it's affecting us. And I'm going to go back and do some research. But it was so profound, and the knowledge that they were bringing out, and they were like, look, this has been, if you study the, generally the zodiac and astrology and all this, this is the one they ignore.
Yep, deliberately.
They ignore it totally, and they're like, there's a reason they ignore it. It's not because it's not, it doesn't do anything. They're ignoring it so you don't see what's actually there and the power that's what in this we're going to say constellation, because again it goes beyond. It's this swan. And I'm not quite recalling at the moment. I
can throw a few things about Cygnus.
Yes. Well, your Skype handle. There you go.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, and this is why I want people to observe their causal abilities. This is going back a couple of years, where I changed my Skype handle to the Ugly Duckling. That's where it started, right? And I had a lot of people, why would you say that about yourself? Trans and all. No, that's not what it's about. What it's about is the self-discovery. And I left that handle in place for a while. Then I changed it as my own state of mind was changing. I changed it from the Ugly Duckling to Cygnus Rising, which was the allegorical way for me to, and it's a lot deeper now looking back as to these things that I did when I did them, for certainly not the same reasons that I know I did them for now. But then it went from Cygnus Rising to Cygnus Trumpets, and that's when we were getting really loud in the overall psyche, if you will. The table was getting larger, and lots more people were catching on, and there was a lot more effect going out there that myself and others that like you guys and whatever that were hanging around, and then it went to what it is right now. Cygnus trumps it. We hold the trump card, and if you look into the early research of Cygnus, the constellation, if you go to Newgrange, the Newgrange, that's in Ireland, is the center there is dedicated to the solstices and the equinoxes and what have you. But there's a little road that leads up to the north and west, about 5 miles, and there's a small building that's a part of the Newgrange complex, and that building is called the Four Knocks, and it is dedicated solely to Cygnus. And isn't it interesting that we take the G, the hex, out of Cygnus, and we put the K in there? and you have sickness, and then you go back to in sickness and in health. So a lot of these layers, and they really started to unfold with the phonics, and especially literally flipping the bird to the phonics, or the spellings with the phonics. And things start really opening up. And when you have a look at it again, with the silent G, you have sinus or sinus. And of course, we've talked about the nose, so there's your sinus. Psi is spirit in Greek, N makes it mind, and the U and the S are the intent with the divine feminine, just like the magnetic electric. So US is the mirror of me. And when you put it all together, you end up with the basically the seven sisters, or the nine muses. You have the MUSE, which is all of those, just coincidentally, because the us and the me represents all of creation. Makes sense. Me and us and me, right? So you have the U, which is the intent, the electrical intent, the S, which is the feminine aspect, the serpent, if you will. And then you have the magnetic and the electric me, ME, right? So, and if you want to flip that around a little bit, what the system does, yeah, let's use them. And they do. So it's about breaking this little spell that has been so deftly and carefully placed over us. And of course, it's the game that we're playing to see if we can figure our way out of it. And I'd say we're doing pretty good. You know, we're doing just fine. Stay the course. We're doing peachy.
Okay, just a little add. This one guy who researching this, they were saying that the constellation of Cygnus has been universally venerated as the place of first creation and the entrance to the sky world since Paleolithic times.
Yep, and we have a nova just discovered on the 31st. So a new star. We have changed the stars, our stars, people, literally. Cool, huh?
Oh
yeah,
my God,
I always knew there was a connection. I kept saying, why does Kate have Cygnus there? And I was tuning into Cygnus and the Swan constellation. I'm like, I know there's a definite connection. And now we're finally, it's coming out. And yeah, there's going to be new stars popping up. Our consciousness is shining bright.
Well, yeah, that's it. You first learn to follow the stars to understand them. And you can get caught up in all of that and just keep being at effect to the same old, or you can start creating new stars. You see, this is one of the things, too, and I noticed this a lot in my musical days, where I had a lot of, people that their goal was, I want to be a big star, I want to be this, and I want to be that. And the irony that I would always sit in silence watching this, and I'm thinking, what part about being a star already aren't you getting? And people equate stardom, or star silence, if you will, the muting of the star, stardom, in the physical sense. People that make it big in the music game and everything else are going exactly the opposite way. Because what they're doing is looking for the physical satiations. Those of us that have always shunned center stage, and I know many, myself included, never mind the stage fright aspect and all the rest of it. Younger, yeah, there was a little bit of that, but I got to tell you, it really wore off quickly. Where I was just content to be, just content to play, just content to write. Hang out with friends, create bands, and have all sorts of fun. Had label deals thrown at me, signed in Nashville, wouldn't sell out, couldn't do it. And, a lot of times, especially with the cafe, I had a songwriter cafe for, 8 years? Based on the Nashville Bluebird setup, we did it just with originals only, though. No covers allowed. I wanted to see the true being. What they wanted to create, not what somebody else has created that somebody mimics. That's just copying. I got such an opportunity to watch so many stars go nova on that little stage. That for me is the real game. I love watching when people get what's going on, when they finally see it. And I get the posts. I've had tons today. When they see it for themselves, when they see the magic, and it's like, yeah, cool, huh? Told you, isn't that really neat? And then people are going, yeah, this is really, I told you. That's all I've been trying to do, is show you how wonderful and how magical and how beautiful you are. And then, trying to wade through the quagmire of ego and defenses and dramas and all the rest of it. You see, all I do now is I just play that game. Because here's the trick with the ego. It's a program. And once you know how it was programmed, you become the IT expert. And you can create the effects that are needed to get people to see that one. First off, if they can see it, if they're not just a Bioborg meat stick program running, if they can see it, they awaken to their own inner potential. And I got to tell you, I have been beaten up, allegorically and speaking, where people have fought me tooth and nail with their egos, and I'm just sitting there, wonder when they're going to get it, wonder when they're going to see it. And I would say probably about, I'm being conservative here, but I'd say maybe 3 out of 10 people in my life have got it. And that's pretty good. I'd say that's pretty awesome, and those numbers are growing. And it sometimes you just have to set yourself up as like this whole thing that's been going on lately around that nonsense in the courts there around Santo. I have not an issue in the world painting a bullseye over my heart to say, you know what, I see when the system is terrified of an individual and is making a play not only to capture their minds and keep the fear in place, but also the minds of those that are following them. That's just the standard operating procedure of a COINTELPRO. It also allows me to see those that are connected to that so that they expose themselves as either totally ignorant morons or pure evil intent COINTELPROs that are basically Bioborgs. As far as I'm concerned, the more intelligent, like I'm talking intellectually intelligent people are, the more danger they have of being a Bioborg, where they've lost their spiritual nature because everything is deemed intellectual. And there's no feeling in intellectual. That's effectively your Terminator model, upgraded Terminator model. And on the inverse of that as well, is you have Bioborg. That is basically a spiritless. It looks like a human, talks like a human, acts like a human, because it's mimicking humanity and it's copying it in all forms, and it fits in quite well. But there's not a scrap of spirit in it. There's not an essence of soul. It's basically a parasite vampiring the energy. It's like if you consider a spiritual being as simply a battery that can operate a Bioborg from afar, as long as that entity or the spiritual being is consenting to be drained. That's what the system does. It makes people consent unknowingly to being drained by these walking, talking robots, meat robots. Fun as hell to watch, though.
Yeah, they basically steal your attention, and
yeah,
well, there goes the energy.
Well, yeah, so like I don't have a problem playing the quote bad guy unquote with regards to what's going on around Santo, because I'm looking at people like Sasha Stone, Andrew Bartzis, Tammy Pepperman, Bo Knows, Enter the Mirror of the Mind Entertainment, and all and all of this stuff. I don't mind calling people out because I'm not even sure what they are. This is how you sort the wheat from the chaff. Call them out and see what kind of reaction you get. And I know Santo is beyond spiritual.
Well, I like what you wrote in the chat room there, Kate. And it's quite concise and clear about
there's a motive to my madness, guys.
About how as you were just sharing that, well, let me just, it was quite clear about how, well, I like how Guru then summed it up. There's many rings on a target. And like you're saying, you're seeing the court, the new earth, OPPT, how this can not just Don Santos, all of us who are,
all of us, yep.
You know, doing this, where I see it in my own, whether it's like that or not even something more publicly known. I have my own little, you know, balancing points, let's say. And with this, though, you kind of, like just some unsavory types that don't have your best interest at heart. That are they truly for what we are all tuning into the horror about, or is this another fashion show? And I don't want to go there again. I'm done with that fashion show. And
well, yeah. Here, just one point to back you up on that. You know, I know a lot of very intellectual people, and I've already mentioned a couple of them. I mean, I'll tell you, if Tammy Pepperman took the time to go to my website and simply read, it's a very simple thing. If you're using a name, you are enslaved. It's quite simple. And I have covered this for too long, guys, just too long. And it is crystal clear as to what's going on. And the whole legal aspect is simply the matrix to try to entrap not just the minds of people, but their very souls, so that they can prey on that life force energy. You know, you're keeping the parasites alive by agreeing with it. Not a good idea.
And we shared this, and you made a really good point when I said one of what we can see here is this. Now it's moved to July 1st, to this other linear time thing in the so-called future. I'm like, that right there, that you just have a date in the future with is kind of, in my, when I see it from my observation point, a fuck up in terms of you're projecting into the fictional realm. And
well, yeah, and my intent and goal with this right now, and why I have done what I've done with regards to Santo. That's just my wake-up call. I love you that much, brother, that I will put myself on the cross for you. Knock yourself out. Get out of Babylon. Not a problem. You see, that's the thing. Once you get to a certain point, and it took me a long time to get here. I've been through the ups and downs and the emotional roller coasters and the fear and you name it. And I've had plenty of time to reflect on it, because this is all I do every day. This is all I do. I stay this course, and I stay, you know, right in it. But when you get to this point, you suddenly realize that you can't take anything personally. That's what the ego does. So knowing that, it's a very powerful tool. Bit of an echo going on, by the way. Not sure what that is. You know, anyway, so, yeah, it's still an echo. It's all right, guys. I've already kind of said what I needed to there. But as long as people understand, and I'm hoping that with what I've done, people will, Santo in particular, will take time to pause and have a look at the motive versus the means. And my motive is quite simple. Have a look. Have a look at your strongest ally doing what they've done. And maybe pause and think on that for a little while. And, you know, people will get it or they won't. I'm not here to save anybody. You're here to save yourself. And many of us have found the road through. And we're just pointing. There's the road. I can't walk it for you, but there's the markers for it. And it's going to be up to you, and only when you step beyond the fear of the physical reality, when you start really getting into seeing the real dark matter, the good stuff, that's when things start happening. I mean, last night we had some beautiful experiences last night. Coral coming in, explaining it, And as I said, that's one of the reasons why I'll jump in, because a lot of times people will say something and glaze right over the magic that just occurred. And I love to stop and show people, look at the cause you did, and look at the spiritual forces working around you. Have a look, and you will see that the helpers show that this game is so beautiful. These are the causes that you're beginning to do. And when one is worthy in that, it's such a beautiful game. When one is worthy of that, the helpers appear. And really weird and magical shit happens around you. Really weird shit, like sitting in a car all by yourself, a prime target for the system, if you will, with no ID, nothing, expired plates, everything, your whole universe all wrapped up in a four-wheel little car. And then you get surrounded by werewolves, cops, only to watch them run for the hills. And the only question anyone should ask at that point is why. And then I will say it's very simple. Go to my website and read, and you'll know why. Because if you truly have any questions, I've done my best to answer as many things from my experience of what I've seen through essays and documents and what have you on that to show you why. And it all revolves around the Narmer plate, King Narmer.
Mm. And also I reckon it too, many times, on another aspect of the spiritual level, is they can't come in. They actually, and this goes for anybody. It could be a friend of yours trying to find you at the moment. If they're in this, as you call it, fear state, searching for you or whatever, you'll see it just walk right away. It won't even come close to you. It's almost like there's this invisible force field. And what I'm trying to get at is it's just a natural way of course they couldn't come, because you just being you, quite naturally, only people who are going to come close to you are those who only have love for you, who are not going to cause any harm. So if anyone was going to cause harm to you, they would, in a way, just bounce right off. They would just walk right by. They couldn't get any closer because you're emitting such a stronger field of being from source that as you say, it's basically impossible. There's nothing for them to hook on to. And so quite naturally, it doesn't matter what it is. It could just be somebody randomly walking down the street looking for an argument. You wouldn't get into it with them. And this is when we see the nature of reality, actually, in this way of, and then as you said, what else in the picture could be a hook, so to say, that they could hook into, or that the old thought forms being acted out through different beings, could hook onto you if you have some attachment to them, i.e. your name, your license, your whatever possession that you can get caught up in. And Kate, you quite clearly you own all of creation, like the rest of us, and so these lesser games do not enter the picture.
Yeah, it's as simple as this, guys. The legal name is the one that is written in the Book of the Dead. And you just letting go of all of that begins your own writing of your own book of life. And it really is that black and white. So for those that are following in the dead fiction world, they're directed and only directed by the script of the Book of the Dead, as it is written and spelled out. And really, it goes back to the 0 point of the Egyptian pharaohs, where all of this began, in terms of the spellbinding using names, et cetera, et cetera. It goes a lot deeper, but King Narmer, King means, right? All one and the same to me. Sorry about that phone in the background. Anyway, there's the 0 point, and everything just points right back to that. And they might say all roads lead to Rome. At the end of the day, Rome uses the same capital city title as Egypt, Cairo. So all roads do lead to Cairo. And it comes back around, Ki-Ro, which is a life spirit breath. And that's what, for me, was the spiritual essence that got captured through the most innocent of us getting wrapped up in this to begin with. So choose your book of the dead or book of life, your own book. And it's that simple. You cannot write a book of the living if you are spiritually contracted to any form of a legal name, and it's as simple as changing your mind on it. There's no paperwork involved. Your world changes instantly at that moment, that choice, that very clear, aware choice. And then you put things into action to show your intention. By your actions, you are known. Actions always follow intent. Always. That's the chicken and the egg, by the way. The egg is a thought. The chicken is the action. See? So the chicken and the egg, well, it depends on your perspective. Either one of them can come first. It just depends on what you're creating. Are you the effect? Are you the chicken laying eggs for the system, or are you the egg sending your chickens out to lay eggs outside? It's time to take over the barnyard, boys and girls. The ruse of the rooster is done. Stir, divine feminine. So the prank on the divine feminine is done. Cock-a-doodle-doo.
Yes. Kate, sometimes you share it, you just
the mood, I know.
It's just you just bring it right on home again, and what do we got to say to add to that? Really?
It's simple. That's the problem with it.
Okay. Yeah. I've tried. This is it. Sharing that. Well, a complicated matter. Well, it's something I was sharing earlier. A lot of times we think something is complicated, and I'm like, no, that's just confusion.
Yeah. My whole show now. Yeah, my whole show is going to be this now. Guys, it's a 4-letter word. All you got to do is get this, and you'll understand how the whole system works. Not applicable magnetic electric. If you're walking around with a name, that means you have a not applicable magnetic electric. Someone else is sucking your energy dry. And you can't say they're stealing it, because you're doing it willfully. You're doing it with your own consent, because a vampire cannot enter your house unless you invite them in. I just put all sorts of garlic and silver bullets around me, and no, they know better.
So when we think of this, Kate, for me, what it reminds me of, honestly, is I am more than the name. So it's not to play the game; it's to remember what if I just associate myself with that name, I'm limiting myself.
Yep.
I'm not. That's it. So I can take the whole system out trying to trap me into the game. And it's just like, hey, thanks for the reminder. I'm not just this name. I'm a being beyond that limiting structure that tuned into, connected with, and here we are. So
here's a question for you guys. If Santo Bonacci was to come out and say, I'm not going to use Santo Bonacci anymore. It's got all sorts of legal attachments to it, and I just need to, people to know that. And he decided to choose a different calling for himself as a map reference point to find his spiritual being. Call it whatever you want. Mm-hmm. Do you think somehow we wouldn't know it was Santo talking? Would we somehow forget the sound of his voice? Would we somehow forget the energy and that teaching and the sharing that he has? Do you think we would forget that? No. See, this is the joke of it. And this is why when people cling to the name, that's what binds them that's the bands of Orion. That is what binds them to the system. A rose by any other name is still a rose. Listen to Shakespeare, Sir Francis Bacon, Chris Marlowe. They're all the same to me. They're all the same being. Pay attention to these subtle little clues that we have. You can walk outside and call a rose a blah, blah, blah. Did the rose change? No.
Yeah, twinkling of an eye.
In the twinkling of an eye. And that's all it takes. And I would really love to see Santo come out and just recreate himself in his own image, not in the image of the system called Santo Bonacci that has a binding tie to that on a spiritual level. It is at that point that you will separate yourself. I said this years ago.
That's hard. That's hard for some artists.
Well, again, that's ego. That's all ego. Attachment and the messenger won't change. The message won't change. But I'll tell you, the spiritual contract will. You got to let go of everything. Hang on, Mike. One more thing. Just one more little thing here. This is the crux of what I'm saying. Years ago, I had to find the one thing that everyone had in common that they took from cradle to grave, and that they would fight to the death to protect. And the only thing that fit that bill was the name. That's it. So you're absolutely right, Mike.
Yeah, and they didn't even know what the fuck it was most of the time. I got it from my parents. What does it mean? I got it from them. And it was, again, this, limiting construct. And, I've had let's say, for example, it's called the Gaia Sophia Dreaming Show. And they put my name, big shout out, Paul Giovanni and the crew. I'm going to play the thank you, criticalmassradio.co.uk. And I said, take my name off of it. Or take that name off of it. Michael D. Shane. And for me, it's one of the reasons straight up. That just says ego to me. For me, that's my reference. Somebody else using their name for whatever, I don't know. But for me, that's always been me. It's just like, hey, show's not about Mike. It ain't Mike's opinion. It's trying not to be. For sure, I share. And throughout my life, it wasn't this. I had this attachment to it. Somebody could reference me by it. But most of my life, I didn't go by it. I was called other names, called other things, and then I had a chance to step out of. Kicked out of the box. Spit out.
It's as simple as
where
this,
it was no longer applicable. It was just applicable.
Has anyone ever called you asshole? And did that name fit at that moment? Damn straight.
Exactly. And that made more sense. And that made more sense in the moment than whatever my parents named me. And it's not like my parents went around calling me this full name. So, that to notice, Kate, how this was the one thing that people got tripped and trapped up over. And again, it goes back to, you are more than that. The name is associated with a limited thought form. Just imagine, you put your attention goes into this a form in a way, this limiting form.
It makes you an actor in their play is what it does.
Yeah. And you forget who you are as in your wholeness. This living being. Keep it as simple as that. And I can get clearer on this. And as you say, so for me to see how attached some people are to that, it's kind of it's hard for me to imagine, Kate. I'm trying to say, how do you do that? How do you get caught in that? And like you said, there's different ways. It's because I don't have those old beliefs. I don't have those beliefs associated with Kate. So that's why when I look at it, sometimes I'm trying to imagine it. Like, how the fuck did you get stuck in that shit? Because I didn't have that. That was and I'm not saying, Mike's did something special here. I just didn't have that association so much through my life with that connection to name. And even when traveling, I didn't have that. So this brings it back to where we were going about the ego, and about how if I'm the DJ or the musician in the band, and to me, if I'm the DJ, I wouldn't separate myself from the dance floor to think I'm something different than someone dancing, because to me, they're part of the band, if I want to use that connotation. So you can bow down to the rock star and worship the lead singer again, or appreciate the whole band, and that includes the audience, the dancers. It's all of us together in this dreaming. And so that's where you can see the ego. Hey, who did it last night? It's like, again, you're praising that guy or this person, and you're not, and instead of the message. And so, like Kate sometimes shares, fame is a fickle thing, and it can catch us. And are we humble with it and really turning it right back over and going, well, guys, take it off me here for a moment. I shared my story, some of my experiences. It's again to connect to this, to the greater one that we are all dreaming with, and where it's beyond self, where it can go into ego, and I can't even say the word right, aggrandizement. And, well, that's a slippery slope, and it sometimes doesn't seem that that's happening, but I've noticed this in the New Cage movement. I noticed it, and it was kind of forming back in the day, and I recognized it, and I was just like, you, what? Fuck. Yeah, okay, guys, I'll see you when you step out of that. Again, I termed it a fashion show.
It's a fashion show. One quick note before you got just over 3 minutes left there, Mike. But I just want to. Bill Donahue uploaded another video today, and guess what the title of the video is? Well, it's number 184, which is 13, and right beside it was a new name. Go figure. Well, so it's a new name or a remembered way.
Yeah, keep going. Okay, you got about 30 seconds.
Oh yeah, no worries.
So the new name.
Oh, beautiful. Love you, family. So great.
Their walls are falling. The momentum is now with us. It's our time now. At the most pivotal point in history is Critical Mass Radio, 24/7 Truth Radio. Help us to help you. Please go to www.criticalmassradio.co.uk and subscribe £1, £2 or £3 a month. The critical mass has been reached. We must come together. We must stand together for ourselves, for each other, for our future generations. criticalmassradio.co.uk. Now, it's our turn.
All right, and thank you all for tuning in and sharing and being, well, we are in this together. And it's kind of like Kate was sharing about Bill Donahue's new, latest true offering, true sharing. And sometimes they say, oh, it's a new show. And it's like K-N-E-W, right? Kate, it's new. We know this.
It's a now confirmation. That's the point I'm making. It's like when you watch everything in the now, it's telling you, like just looking at the table here, there's a little packet that says cyber clean on it. So that's a spirit cyber Clay on, which is the key of on, the key of God. Okay, so this is how I stay in the now, and I know what's happening based on that. So watch the now, and it's telling you everything that's going on. We've gone nova. We got new star in Cygnus, and well done. That's all I'm going to say. Well done, guys.
Yes, thank you all. Much love, much aloha. Tune in to the Emerald Table tonight outside the vault with Kay to Gaia. Thank you, Critical Mass Radio, and thank you all. Gaia Sophia Dreaming. Thank you for being with us. And with that, much love all.
Yeah, I love you all so much.
Great job, Mike. Great job, everyone. We'll catch you guys tonight.